Here with me now is Joanna Marriott, who's just given a session. Hi, Jo.
Hi, Louise. How are you?
Okay, thanks. Did you enjoy being filmed?
Well, it was okay. I didn't really notice the camera, to be honest. So.
That's the most important part. So your session was on creating a rich linguistic environment for young learners.
Yeah.
And you talked about play and routines. So what are some activities that you found to be the most successful in your own classes?
Well, I think like the ones in the session, making sure that your routines are using play and that play is generated by the learner rather than teacher-led. So, taking them on a journey, it has to be structured in the sense the teacher's going to need to provide the linguistic input, but all of the decisions come from them. So where are we going, how are we getting there, what they can see. And, you can do that with any routine, actually, that from taking the register, pretending they're different animals or people. And it's, just making sure that play, rather than games, are kind of at the center of learning, because that's how children learn.
Okay. And you spoke about the difference between games and play. What could you tell a teacher that maybe doesn't really understand what that means?
Well, it's really a question about whether, who is telling the child what to do? Is it coming from them? Are they deciding themselves what they're doing? Or is it a teacher saying, we're going to play a game and this is my game that I have designed for you? Okay. Which can still be fun. There's nothing wrong with a game, but it's not promoting autonomy because it's not learner-led.
Okay. And you work as a senior teacher here in Somersaguas, and you're responsible for primary and early years. Yeah. How has that changed over the last few years?
Hugely, massively. Basically the level to start with. And the age groups. We didn't have 3 and 4-year-old children on site until 2 years ago. And so that's changed in the sense that we've opened courses for younger age groups. But also, if you look at the types of things that we were doing with our 5-year-old groups a few years ago, it was really quite basic in terms of the language, so colours, numbers, body parts. We now do that with 3-year-olds, and the 5-year-olds are capable of much, much more because they just have so much more English around them all the time, both at home and at school. So, big differences.
Okay, yeah. And I believe you're doing a talk next, and you're going to be talking about the earliest foundation stage in the UK. What aspects of that do you think is helpful for us as teachers here in Spain?
Well, I think that we touched on a little bit in this talk as well, just looking at how we can promote a more holistic approach to teaching English to children. So rather than just saying, we're going to teach them the language, we're also going to be teaching or helping, supporting areas of early childhood development. So the early years framework in the UK, you work with the main areas of development. So you've got physical, cognitive, social and emotional, and so on. And then you also have things like expressive art and design, understanding the world, numeracy, literacy. So it's taking those areas and using them to input the language rather than it just being about teaching words and phrases in English. So if you're doing something around understanding the world, you might bring in different objects from a season, for example, and then they learn words like leaves. They learn brown and red and orange because they are related to the leaves. They're not in a list of colours. And the lesson content will be based around the fact that we have different seasons and plants and animals do different things in different seasons. So you're supporting more of their learning than just their English learning.
Okay, so it's becoming a lot more about the whole child, which is something that's becoming quite important nowadays, right?
Yeah, very much
And so. Would you have any advice or tips for teachers who are new to early years?
Yes, you have to lose your inhibitions to start with, because you need to be able to relate to children, and if you're going to be able to do these types of play activities with them, they need to see you to an extent as one of them. But What else? I mean, there's lots and lots of things. Don't be scared, apart from anything else. There's nothing to be scared of. If you learn about how children of this age group learn and how they develop, you'll see that there isn't. I think there's a lot of fear about teaching. You know, it's like, oh, 2 years old, 3 years old, what do I do with them? But I think actually that it's something that once people get into a classroom, they will see that it isn't so daunting. Yeah. And in some ways, there is an element of freedom in that lesson, because you do have to be a little bit spontaneous. You do have to work with them, because they are so little that they will have days when they just are simply tired. And so you're going to have to adapt what you've done, because maybe you'd organise some kind of play activity that was around movement, and they're just, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that there's more freedom in some ways.